Welcome to Whisky in the News for August 7th. This is Gillian, the Ace of Hearts.
And I'm Mike Gill, the Ace of Diamonds. Welcome back from Florida, Gillian.
Thank you. Happy to be back. Now let's get right into this week's news. Anne Brabble from Paste Magazine had an attention-catching post this week that I had to share with all of you. In celebration of the return of Mad Men, the site put together a series of old advertisements for real products. One of them, a whiskey-flavored toothpaste.
Lovely.
The ad was released in the 1960s and reads, "Why fight oral hygiene? Enjoy it. Here's real He-Man toothpaste. Best argument yet for brushing 3 times a day. 2.5-ounce tubes flavored with the real thing, Scotch or bourbon. Night before feeling on the morning after. Rinse with soda instead of water if preferred." Now this is something I would love to try.
Much better than going to the dentist is what I say, being a Brit. Anyway, 2 weeks ago we reported on the recovery and thawing efforts on Shackleton's Whisky. A case of whiskey belonging to explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton. This week, 3 Weeks News is reporting that the thawing efforts are not going as planned. After a week of thawing, the crate is still encased in ice. Conservators at the Canterbury Museum has been able to identify at least one full bottle of 100-year-old McKinley malt whiskey. They hope that they will be able to remove the top layer sometime this week to get a better idea of how many bottles are inside.
This is a great story, and actually I've been following it on Twitter. At The Nose, which is Robert Patterson's account, has constant updates on that. So if you want to know more about it, I definitely encourage you to go follow at The Nose on Twitter. A new exhibit in England has taken whiskey off the palate and immortalized it in pottery. Press and Journal reports that potter Fiona Duckett has designed a ceramic whiskey shrine for the annual pottery showcase, Potfest, in the park. Her artwork features columns and a roof with 4 miniature copper stills sitting on top. The artist said she designed the sculpture to reflect both the theme of this year's event, which is shrines, and to celebrate her hometown of Banffshire, which is known for its whiskey.
Absolutely.
She added a luster glaze to help bring the finished article to vibrant life, and is hopeful it will catch the judges' eyes at the competition this weekend. And last week we reported that Bowmore was working on a new brewery. Now the Herald Scotland reports that Brook Laddie Distillery will also be branching out from its famous whiskey and producing a new bottle of gin. The distillery decided to branch out after discovering old gin recipes and an experimental still. Brook Laddie has taken care to research historical methods of distilling gin. In addition to using juniper, a common ingredient in gin, over 20 plants from around the island will be combined into this new product. Jim McEwen, Brook Laddie's production director, said of the production, quote, "I wanted to bring in the beautiful flavors of Islay." Production will start next week with only a few thousand bottles planned for production.
Jim McEwen, for all of you that know me, he's my favourite whiskey guy in the whole world. He's innovative, and this doesn't surprise me, and he occasionally likes an ice cube in his whiskey. I didn't say that, Jim, sorry. Here at WhiskeyAce.com, we don't like hearing about spills, whether it's from our favourite bottle of whiskey or from the headlines surrounding the BP oil spill. So we're happy here to hear about the 6th annual Whiskey and Wine Festival, who will be donating its proceeds to the Gulf Coast Cleanup Initiatives. The festival is no stranger to donations. In fact, it started 6 years ago when they raised funds for the Red Cross following Hurricane Katrina. The festival will take place on September 5th in Atlanta, make a note. Along with featuring a number of well-known whiskies and beers, attendees will be serenaded by tribute bands belting out tunes from Guns N' Roses, Def Leppard, U2 and Van Halen. My kind of music.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Finally, we have some exciting news from Macallan. The famous whiskey brand has commissioned Japanese company Taisen to create Macallan-branded ice cube molds. Now, these aren't your ordinary ice cube molds. The mold creates 2¼ inch spheres. Ice cubes have been long debated, as you know, in the whiskey world. Even those who do like their scotch on the rocks often find that ice cubes melt too quickly in their drink. JustLuke's.com, where we found the story, says the new sphere cubes take longer to melt because, aside from being larger, their sphere surface gives them less surface area, 2 things which keep an ice cube from melting quickly. The Macallan cube can be purchased in one of their new whiskey kits. Macallan, if you're listening, we want to get our hands on one of those kits, so let us know where we might be able to get one.
Yeah, you know I like my ice. And Macallan, I like it in a 12, but in your 25, no, I like it just as it is. Anyway, that's all from me.
And that's all that we have for you for Whiskey News this week. We hope that you'll join us next week. For more Whiskey News, you can visit us on YouTube at Whiskey Ace 1 or on our website at whiskyace.com. And if you have your own news tips to submit, you can email us at whiskyace@hotmail.com. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.